Hello everyone, welcome to another Community Connections Cooking and Nutrition demonstration. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeremy Capone. I am the wellness chef for ELLICSR Kitchen at the Cancer Rehabilitation Survivorship Program of Prince Margaret's Cancer Center. Thank you so much for joining us. We have an amazing guest joining us, but before I get to them, I want to introduce my partner in cooking, I guess not crime, but cooking. Daniela Fiorini, registered dietitian. Thank you, Daniela. Hello.
Hi. Well, maybe we could be partners in crime too. Who knows? But yes, it is for the cooking show, and I am super excited to have these guests here today. I'm Daniela Fiorini, a registered dietitian. I've been doing this with Jeremy. This is a full year. This is going to be a full year in December, and it's been exciting. But before I introduce the recipes, I think I'm going to turn it over to Teresa and Katy, right? And then I'll introduce the recipes.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Hi, everyone. My name is Teresa Tiano. I am the chair and the co-founder of My Gut Feelings Stomach Cancer Foundation of Canada. Thank you so much to both Jeremy and Daniela and ELLICSR as well for having us here. I just wanted to quickly talk about two things, and then I'll hand it over to Katy. So November is Stomach Cancer Awareness Month, and of course, diet and nutrition is a huge part of what gastric cancer patients deal with every day. A couple of years ago, we were really lucky to work with ELLICSR Kitchen and Nourish Magazine, and we came up with a recipe booklet called Cooking with Joy, Digesting with Ease, and it's nutrition recipe for people with gastric cancer. And so the recipes you're going to be seeing are from this booklet, and also just some promo of what we're doing for Stomach Cancer Month. On November 26th, we have a conference that brings together the health community and the patient community, and you can register for it. It's in person in Toronto and virtual, and just go to www.mygutfeeling.ca. Katy?
Hi, everyone. I'm the other half of My Gut Feeling. I am a stomach cancer survivor and one of the co-founders and vice chairs of My Gut Feeling. Very, very happy to be here. Thank you so much, you guys. Just a plug for this recipe book. I have personally tried it, and I have cooked most of those recipes. And as someone that doesn't know how to cook, they are easy and they are delicious. So I'm really excited to see what Jeremy has to do today. And just a little plug, November 30th is Stomach Cancer Awareness Day. And actually, if you go on our website, which is www.mygutfeeling.ca, you can see a bunch of landmarks, and I think we're at 35 landmarks across the world that will be lighting up in periwinkle, which is the color for Stomach Cancer Awareness Day. So guys, let's get cooking.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Teresa and Katy, for joining us. And again, huge thank you to My Gut Feeling for joining us today. Thank you for the aprons as well. They look fantastic. So excited for Stomach Cancer Awareness Day, all the amazing landmarks. I think you mentioned it was like St. Marco's Square and Leaning Tower of Pisa are some of them. Really, really cool. Very exciting. So thank you again for joining us. And if anyone has any questions for Katy or Teresa, you can mention them in the chat. So if you're online, you can mention them in the chat, and they will be joining us in the chat as well, and they can answer your questions. So thank you again. Daniela, I will turn it over to you to introduce the rest.
Yes. So I'm really excited to have Denise Gabrielson with us in the kitchen today. I know she's worked very closely with Katy and Teresa and with Nourish Online. And I would say she's our stomach expert, stomach cancer expert, and she's a dietitian at St. Michael's Hospital. So did you want to say anything, Denise, or shall I just jump into the recipes? What do you think?
Hi, everyone. We can jump right in.
Jump right in? Okay. So these were selected specifically by Teresa and Katy and Denise, and they made my mouth water when I was reading up on them. So the 3 recipes we're doing today are a warm mushroom and grain salad, black bean burger, and a chocolate and peanut butter pie. Yes, there is dessert in this. I know that it's difficult. I was listening to the session by Teresa and Katy, so it's exciting that there's also a dessert. So for the first recipe, the warm mushroom and grain salad, this healthy and satisfying salad is rich in fiber and flavor and several key nutrients like selenium, iron, which I understand is really tough to absorb, and vitamin D. It also has some vitamin D. And it's a versatile salad because you can enjoy it warm or cold. I'm thinking today's weather may be warm. And you can also have it as a side dish or a main meal if you add a protein source. But that's all I'm going to say for the intro. I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy, and then Denise is going to give us some more information as well.
Thank you, Daniela, and thank you, Denise, for joining us today as well. I had the pleasure to working with Denise as well as the rest of my gut feeling team to develop some of these recipes for this little cookbook. So thanks again. It was such a pleasure, and these recipes are really good, not because we made them, but I think because they have lots of flavor and they're just super tasty. So we're going to jump into the first recipe, this warm mushroom and grain salad. For the grain, we're actually going to be using some barley. And I know Denise has some talking points about that as well. For the barley, I'm not going to bore you with the cooking of barley. It's pretty straightforward, but you're going to bring up a pot of water to a boil. Once it's boiling, you can add your barley, and you're just going to cook that until it's tender. It could take 30 minutes. It might take 40 minutes. It depends. If it's pop barley, it's going to take a little bit longer. If it's pearl barley, it's going to cook a little bit quicker. So just taste around that 30-minute mark, and once it's nice and tender, you can go ahead and drain it. Now, the little tip for adding a little bit more mushroom flavor is while the barley is simmering away, you can throw in, if you have, a couple dried mushrooms. You can use shiitake mushrooms, you can use porcini mushrooms. Those are really, really great umami boosters. They have this really nice mushroom flavor, this really nice sort of savoriness that they're going to add. And as the barley sort of cooks in that liquid and it starts to absorb some of the water as well, it will absorb some of that like mushroom flavor. So you don't have to do that, but if you did want to add a little more flavor, that's something you can do. So that's what the barley, this is what it looks like, just so I can show you quickly. Once it's drained, nice and tender, and there is our barley. Now, should we jump? Okay, you know what? We'll jump into the mushrooms. And Denise, did you want to talk about barley or?
Just in general, basically this dish is a really good source of soluble fiber, which can help with dumping syndrome, which is a big challenge for people with stomach cancer, especially after a gastrectomy. So dumping syndrome can occur due to a loss of stomach storage space after surgery. So normally after a meal, food is stored in the stomach, where it's released into small amounts into the small intestine. So without the stomach storage space, large amounts of nutrients end up rapidly going into the small intestine or dumping in there. And this can cause symptoms of diarrhea, fullness, cramping, vomiting, weakness, dizziness, and sweating in the cases of early dumping syndrome. So the soluble fiber in this dish can actually help to slow gastrointestinal transit time, which can improve the symptoms of dumping. And also the barley is a really good source of soluble fiber, which helps to hold water. And this can be really helpful if you're having diarrhea as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Denise. Okay, so we're going to move on. So we have the barley. You can, as that's simmering away, that's cooking, you can move on to the mushrooms. And so I'm going to bring it down for a better look here. So for the mushrooms, you can use any mushrooms for this. Make it easy for yourself. I think like the white button and these sort of brown, these chestnut or cremini mushrooms are probably the most accessible. You can find them in most grocery stores. They're perfect to use, really, really flavorful. The one thing I will say is in terms of cleaning. I know that there's sort of mushroom and cleaning and how do you do it, a bit of a hot topic. And I think you hear some people say not to wet them or not to wash them and just sort of to brush the dirt off. With these capped mushrooms, like your white button and your cremini, I would actually suggest do wash them. There is quite a bit of dirt and soil that you can find kind of stuck onto the inside and on the outside. And mushrooms are mostly water anyway, so they really don't absorb a lot. They really don't get soggy, especially these capped mushrooms. So you can put them into a nice bowl of cold water, put your mushrooms in there and sort of agitate them a little bit. You can rub them a little bit with, paper towel, and it'll get, the soil off, any of that dirt off. And then you can just pat them dry with a paper towel. All it means is maybe you'll have to cook them like 10 seconds longer because it has a little bit of extra water on it. It's not a big deal to make sure that they're really nice and clean. So I would say, yes, absolutely do wash them. For any of these types, if you're looking to, okay, I want to explore and use some different mushrooms, these mushrooms with the gills, you can use like a wet paper towel, make sure that they're brushed nice and clean. You can add a little bit of water on them. They might absorb a little bit more water and get a little soggy, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. But you can use, for this dish, any mushrooms that you want. What I'm doing really simply is just taking them, and you can slice them with your knife if you want them really nice and sort of small. What I like to do with this dish is I might cut them in half, especially with these like nice cremini mushrooms. And then at that point, you can take out the stem, use the stem, like as long as it's clean, you can use the stem, and I'll just use my hands and tear it into bigger chunks, just like this. Because again, they're mostly water, as you're cooking them, you're gonna see it shrink considerably. And I find that if it's too small, then they almost sort of disappear in there. Whereas if you leave them a little bit bigger, you get these sort of rustic and uneven chunks and pieces of the mushroom, which I think work really well with this barley dish. So chop up the mushrooms, throw them in a pan with just a little bit of oil, medium-high heat, and just until we get some color, we want to get as much water as we can out of the mushrooms, so it develops some great flavor. So I'll continue doing that. I don't know if anyone has some more tips to share.
Sure. Well, we're talking about mushrooms, so I guess I'll just talk about that. They're one of our sources of vitamin D. That's one way of getting vitamin D. So that's great. And they also have soluble fiber, as Denise had talked about earlier with the barley. So you're getting a good dose here. Jared, I have more tips on barley, but should we do that when you add the barley or go ahead with it now?
Yeah, go for it now. Perfect.
I think the thumbs up means now, right? Okay, so heading back to barley. So Denise told us all about the soluble fiber, but what's really cool about barley is that it also has some good protein. It has about, if we look at a half cup of barley, it has 12.5 grams of protein. That's a little more than what you would get in an egg, probably an egg and a half. And we were talking about iron, and it has 20% of our daily need for iron. So again, something else that's good for stomach cancer, I would think Denise was saying that there is difficulty absorbing certain nutrients, and one of them is iron. And then it also contains a little bit of vitamin E and beta carotene. So it has a lot of what we call phytonutrients, which are nutrients that can help improve our ability to protect our body from cancer, and that come from plants. So it's a great source. It's my favorite. I would say mushrooms are my favorite. So this probably would be something I would enjoy.
All right. Thank you for all those amazing tips. Okay, so we have our mushrooms here. Adding just a little pinch of salt. At this point, that salt is going to start to draw some of that water from inside the mushrooms. It's going to help to, improve that cooking process. It's going to make it a little bit easier, a little bit quicker. But essentially, we're going to cook it down just until it looks kind of like this. So nice and soft, but color is really, really good. It still looks a little on the sort of kind of gray side. Cook it a little bit more until you start to get a little bit more caramelization, a little bit more color on there. We don't want to burn it, just a little bit of color, and that's great. So we have our mushrooms, and now we're going to make a very quick dressing for this. I like to make my dressings in a mason jar. I think it's an easy way to sort of shake them up and to mix them together, and then you can store the extra, which is great. So we're going to use some olive oil, and I think it's like 2 tablespoons. I don't have the recipe in front of me, but equal parts. Olive oil to lemon juice. Like the lemon juice in here. If you don't have lemons on hand, you can absolutely use another acid, like vinegar, like a red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar would be great. The acidity in vinegar is a little bit stronger than in lemon. So if you don't like it as acidic, maybe go a little less than 1:1. With lemon, it's obviously acidic, but it's not as strong. So that's why 1:1 I think works well. As a balance with this. So a little bit of lemon. Garlic, if you like garlic. I like garlic. We're going to add some minced. Now again, this is going to be raw in the dressing. So if you like garlic, but you don't like it as strong or that sort of heat that garlic brings, you can actually add it to the mushrooms as they're cooking. And as the garlic sort of cooks out, it sort of dilutes that heat a bit. It makes it a little bit sweeter and a little less strong. So you can do that. If you like that punch, if you like that heat of garlic, then you can put it raw directly into dressing here. And then we'll add a little pinch of salt, maybe a little bit of black pepper. Again, season it to taste.
So Jeremy, sorry to interrupt. So I suppose that if you have some trouble with garlic, you could actually just mix it in there, but remove it before you add it to the salad, would you say?
So
it'll still give flavor to the dressing?
Great question. So it won't impart a lot of flavor in the dressing stage if you just added it in, shake it, and remove it. What I would do is actually add it in this stage, whole. And while the mushrooms are cooking away, you can just like gently crush the garlic so that it's whole, and then add it to at that point.
Okay, thanks for the tip.
Perfect. Okay, so dressing, lemon, garlic, olive oil, a little salt and pepper, pretty simple. Now we're ready to combine. Let's put this delicious salad together. So I have my bowl. Now again, I have like 17 different plates here. You do not have to cook like this at home. I would suggest you don't, right? We don't want to do a lot of cleanup. For me, it's more demonstration purposes that I do have a lot of plates. But you can, even just mix it all together in your pot that you cook the barley in, and that'll work just fine. Less dishes to clean afterwards. All right, so I'm going to add our barley. And you can see a couple of those little mushrooms. Yeah, sorry, Denise.
Sorry. I was just going to mention, Daniela talked about all the great benefits of barley, and there's a good benefit to having the extra fiber with dumping syndrome. But I just wanted to mention, because of the fiber content, if you are having symptoms of slow stomach emptying or slow motility in your gastrointestinal tract, this can sometimes make you feel full for a longer period of time. Which can be uncomfortable for some people. So if you need to follow a lower fiber diet for this, Jeremy, what would be a good substitute for the barley? Do you think something like pearl couscous would work to lower the fiber content?
Yeah, I think in terms of the texture, an equivalent would be a larger, like an Israeli couscous, like a larger pearl couscous. That would be a fantastic option. Yeah, absolutely. You can even use like an orzo pasta and almost do it that way as well. That would be much lower in fiber. But yeah, those would be two great options.
Great.
Awesome. All right, so we have our mushrooms, we have our barley. We'll shake with our dressing. Add that over top.
So the olive oil in this dish is actually really great because it adds a lot of extra energy and calories to this dish. So if you're trying to add extra calories, being heavy-handed with the dressing can really help.
Yes, absolutely. We love using olive oil in most of our dishes. Olive oil today. So, all right. Little dressing, a good hand of any herbs, basil, and then just toss it into the salad, just like this. Sorry, Daniela, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it looks awesome. I'm not sure if I'm interrupting when you're presenting, but that's the only problem with this is that we need smell-o-vision. But definitely enjoy that for all of us watching.
No, this is where you really have to use your imagination with food. But there you go. That is the really nice. And like Daniela mentioned off the top, you can have this warm or cold. It works either way. I think, yeah, warm food on these snowy November days is probably a good pairing. So that's our first recipe, our warm mushroom and grain barley salad.